Yeah, we got him.
Corbin, you have a question for Coach?
Hey, Brian, we've now gotten to see Rashad Penny back in the field for a handful of practices. What's he looked like out there to you, and what's the toughest challenge trying to implement players like him and Gordon back into the offense this late in the season?
Well, first, Corbin, he looks terrific. He's looking fast. He's looking explosive, moving really well, running routes really well. I think he looks as good as you could expect him to see. Like, I hadn't seen him for a while. He's been working when he came out, started last week, right, doing different things. This week, I think he's getting close to being ready to go. In terms of getting those guys involved or getting them ready to play, in this game, they're always preparing themselves mentally. I think that's where Rashad's really grown. You ask him anything systematically that we're doing, ask him anything that the Redskins present problems and all those things, he's on it. I mean, he's really studied and prepared himself for that. And it's just getting him out there feeling comfortable moving around physically, which we're checking those off the box as we go. But he's been in all the meetings, different than Josh. Josh will be a little bit different, but Rashad looks like he's really, really close.
Brady.
Hi, Brian. What's the let me rephrase that. What kind of a mentality or an approach does a receiver like DK have to have when he knows he knows, the next game he plays, he's going to get a lot of attention from a number one cornerback?
It sounds boring, Brady, but he's just used to it. There's nothing that he can do differently. If teams want to match him with somebody, they do. DK, and we believe this offensively, the defense is out there to try to slow us down and to present problems for us, but we don't ever give them too much credit. We don't ever say, okay, well, if this guy matches you, boy, we can't throw you the ball. DK's too good of a player to have that happen. I think it's a challenge. I think it motivates him. He's a guy that's always responded, whether it's a guy matching him or people challenging him saying you can't do this or you can't do that, or hey, his draft status a couple years back, it motivates him. So the cool thing about DK is, I think, whether he's learned this from Russ, is each week he's dialed in and it's like, okay, the last game's over. Let me get ready for the next opponent, and I'm going to go tackle that game and that matchup and those coverages that I might face.
When did you start to realize that he would be up for those kinds of challenges? If I remember correctly, but tell me if I'm wrong, you said it was last year in the first Rams game that's when you started to realize that?
That's exactly what it was. The first time that we had gone against the Rams with Jalen. Jalen matched him early. We didn't try him a whole lot as the game went. Russ found him on a big scramble play. There were some other plays that we got to him. So it was at that moment you're like, okay, this guy wants the ball in those situations. He wants to be great. And that continued to grow into the playoffs. I mean, you watch him in Philadelphia, right, what he was able to do in that situation. So you knew pretty quick that was a guy that, hey, I want the spotlight, I want the ball. Give me an opportunity to make those plays no matter who I'm up against.
Joe Fan.
Hey, Brian, Adam Schefter reported over the weekend that your name was being floated for the Houston job. I know you're focused on this season, but is the end goal for you? Would you like to be a head coach in this league?
Oh, yeah, I'd love to be a head coach. But those things are flattering, but they don't help you beat a really good Washington Redskins team. So honored to be in that consideration, but I'm really focused on doing what I can to play well against a really, really one of the best defenses we've played this year.
Have you had an interview before?
I've had 5 throughout the year, throughout my career.
Can you share just a couple of them, or I could probably Google it? But
yeah, I mean, you can look them up. I mean, it was a bunch when I was with the Jets, but again, to be mentioned in that is great. But really, what's it about? It's about how well we're doing offensively. This is not about me. It's about the Seattle Seahawks. It's about Russell Wilson, Tyler Lockett. Let's talk about those guys. What a great job those guys are doing. Chris Carson being back, the offensive line. So again, I'm honored and flattered, but I'm just proud of this group and how well we've done. But we got a lot of work left to do.
John Boyle.
Yeah, Brian, just curious your thoughts on what Dwayne Brown is doing this year. I mean, I know he can't practice fully every week because you're kind of managing him, but how well he's playing at 35 years old and just all the things he's doing.
It's amazing. I would say he's the heartbeat of the offensive line. He's one of the leaders. For a guy to miss as much practice time as he does, it's amazing that you play at that level, because what happens as the season goes, people lose their ability to, not schematically, but fundamentally, you see players start to lessen and their pass protection gets off, or a quarterback's footwork might get off. This guy hasn't lost that. And I think that comes from just his professionalism, but the way he works. He tries to take every rep that he can of walkthrough. But it's a testament to him, and just he's having a terrific season.
Tim?
Brian, you already have two pretty good running backs, and trying to get them carries can sometimes be a challenge. What happens when you add a third whenever Rashad comes back, especially at a position that's so – those guys like to get in rhythm. They like to get multiple carries at a time to get going.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have, Tim. That problem falls really during the course of the week. We normally kind of work through that, and we have a plan going into the game to try to get all those guys involved. And, depending on how the game's going, that certainly helps. If you're having success and you're doing what we did last week, winning the time of possession, you're staying on the field, it's easier to get all those guys involved. But it's a good problem to have. You need backs. A couple weeks ago, it seems like we weren't sure who was going to play. I don't remember what that game was. I think I blocked it out of my mind. But there was one game we weren't sure, and we were trying guys out and seeing, okay, hey, can you run the ball? Can you do this? Can you do that? So it's a good situation to have. And what I've noticed is these guys all cheer for each other. They're competing. They want to be great. But if Chris scores, Carlos is excited. If Rashad would rip off a big run last year, Chris would be excited. So they cheer for each other. And that friendly competition is cool to see.
Matt Calkins.
Brian, going back to DK, you have a player as dynamic as him. How much of play calling is, all right, let's see what the defense gives us? How much is it, all right, we got to figure out a way to get this guy the ball somehow?
Yeah, there's certain players, Tyler, DK, Matt, that when you put your game plan together, there's actually sections on your call sheet that say, okay, hey, how do I get the ball to this guy? Because as the flow of the game starts, right, you've got a plan going in. A lot of times there's things you're like, okay, didn't expect that, so we've got to adjust to do that. So guys like that, those special type players, there's literally spots on your call sheet where you've kind of labeled, okay, here's where he's the first progression. Here's where I can get the ball in his hand. And so as the game goes, every other series, you're constantly looking and saying, okay, hey, look, here, hey, I haven't used this one yet. Because when you're looking at the card and there's all those different plays on there, things get lost. So it's always nice to have a reference point for those two guys. And each week it's different. Sometimes there's matchups that we really like. Maybe it's, hey, this week we really love the matchup with the tight ends on the safeties. Then they'll have their section. But terrific player. And at times, to be honest, you don't have to try to get him the ball. It's just the way the game goes. And they isolate him, or there's a matchup that Russ sees, and he's so talented that the ball goes there. And you're like, boy, wasn't expecting it to go there, and it does.
Art?
Brian, a year ago, the emergency klaxons were going off around the running back position, and you were introducing Marshawn Lynch and Robert Turbin to the playbook. I'm just wondering if you recall any anecdotes or episodes, sad or funny, from those desperate hours.
It was one of the more, I would say, not desperate, I would say maybe stressful situation. I remember I've shared the story before, but meeting Marshawn for the first time up in Chad Morton's office, and then walking downstairs into the team meeting room, and this is when we could actually sit close together, and Marshawn was in my seat, and I was at a little bit of an impasse because I didn't know whether I should ask him to move or not. I mean, a little bit of Seahawks royalty there, but I found the courage to ask him to move, and he obliged. The problem would have been, Art, if he said, I'm not moving, dog. I'm not moving, dog. Then I don't know what I probably would have found a seat someplace else. But I think it's, again, amazing what we were able to do in those playoff stretch here with those guys, both with that they were able to do and how we kind of adjusted offensively, schematically, the coaching staff. That was cool to see a very stressful moment, for the most part, become very positive.
Michael Sean?
Hey, Shotty, Tyler's production has taken a dip since that big Arizona game out there on the road. What do you attribute that to?
Well, first, I think it's hard to have 15 for 200. I think it's just the way the ball goes, Michael. You know, he's not doing anything different. We're not game planning any different. The season goes in ebbs and flows for everybody, you know, whether it's the quarterback, the running backs, the offensive linemen, the tight ends. So I really don't think that there's anything I point to that says, oh, boy, he's not getting the ball because of this. He's still making some big-time plays for us. And I think it's because we've got so much talent. You've got guys like David Moore that stepped up and made unbelievable plays. Let's talk about Demo for a second and what he's done. You've got DK, you've got Chris, you've got Carlos. I was fired up that Jake Hollister continues to do what he does. Will Dissly getting the touchdown. So there's really nothing that Tyler's done. Would not surprise me this week if Tyler has a huge game. If it's not this week, it very easily could be the next game. You've not seen the last of Tyler. He's not disappointed. He's doing everything right. So I think we're awfully blessed to have those type of players.
Since he's been here, he's been about as sure-handed as any receiver in the league, but he's put it on the ground a lot this year. Is that something you guys have talked about this season?
You know, we coach everybody the same when it comes to that. If there's one thing that came out of the game last week, was we were all a little bit loose with the ball carriage. We call it flying elbow. The elbow is getting away from their body. We've coached that up this week. Guys are on it. You know, these guys really take to what we emphasize. And we know where we want to go. We got to be great at taking care of the football, whether it's catching it, securing it, even the quarterback center exchange stuff. We got to be great with that. So that's always an emphasis. And anything we emphasize, these guys they're dialed in and they do a great job of really buying into what we're telling them.
Jackie?
At 35 years old, were you surprised to see Greg Olsen return from his injury as quickly as he did? And secondly, how valuable is he in that tight end room considering how young that group is?
Yeah, the answer to the first question is absolutely. Just because I know that, you know, that's an injury that can take a little bit of time. So it's amazing that he's worked his way back. He's looking good. You know, we'll see where that goes. And in terms of the importance of him in the room, he's just seen so much football. It's truly like having another coach in the room because he's seen so much football. Run game, pass protection, pass concepts, coverages. And so there's unbelievable value in the expertise that he has of playing that position. And he's obviously a great communicator, as we have all seen. So it's huge for us. I know Pat McPherson, myself, Dave Canales, guys that are in that room, we're blown away by the insight that he gives those young players.
Bob?
Brian, obviously their defensive ends are really good. Do they do anything in particular to free those guys up, or you know, do those guys just win a lot of one-on-one battle kind of things, or? Yeah,
but you know, Bob, it's not just their defensive ends. Allen's one of the best interior defensive linemen. They're really deep in their attack inside. They're just great athletes. They're great players. They're a penetrating front. Anybody that's played a Jack Del Rio or a Ron Rivera defense, I mean, you're going to see their whole objective is to knock people back and to create problems inside. So the ends are really, really good, but the interior guys are just as dangerous. They do a really nice job of moving the pocket. You know, you try to look at them and you say, okay, this week, hey, compare these guys to other people you played. They're very different. The ends are two young, athletic, great change of direction guys. The interior guys are powerful, disruptive. That's why I said earlier, I mean, I think this is one of the best defenses that we've played this season, and they do create a lot of problems for any opposing offense.
Greg?
Hi, Brian. How has Will Dissly developed as a pass blocker in your time with him?
You know, I think it's something he wasn't asked to do a whole lot of. Greg coming in here, obviously defensive end, tight end / fullback, H-back. He works at it all the time. He's gotten so much better at hand usage. So much of pass protection is your ability to refit your hands. Because when you go to block somebody, right, I go to block you, okay, which I'd probably be able to do. But if I go to block you, right, and you knock my hand off, right, they're taught to try to knock your hands off. It's all about replacing that hand that gets knocked off. And so he's really just worked. I mean, you guys will see him pre-practice. He's over there doing different drills to work on his hand placement and his replacement of hands. And then he's just extremely powerful through his lower body. So he has gotten a lot better, but it's still an extremely difficult job that not many tight ends in the NFL can do. So it comes from his strength, his ability to use his hands, but also a lot of it just comes down to flat out work ethic and training and working those fundamentals that we talked about that, again, I'm going to go back and brag on Will. You know, it's easy to do it in week 1, week 3, week 4. But now you get into the latter part of the season, guys are tired, right? Maybe I'll go home a little earlier today. Maybe I won't go out quite as early for the start of practice. Not this guy. This guy's out here early. He's out here working. He doesn't ask for a minute off, which is cool.
Thank you. I think I'd block you if I needed to, though.
Maybe after the season. After the season, we'll have a little one-on-one matchup.
Yes, sir.
And last one for Coach Curtis.
Yeah, Brian, you kind of mentioned it there, but given the kind of pickle you were in at running back last year, to have Rashad coming back, to have Chris and Carlos ready to go, how much lower blood pressure does that make you have at this stage, given where you're at in the season and everything?
We're excited because Chris, you're seeing Chris, right? I mean, for a while there, you didn't really probably see Chris and how talented that he is. You see him, you see what Carlos can produce. We all know Rashad. The question was Rashad coming back from the injury. What I've seen is he looks amazing. Midpoint of the season, whatever game that was, when we were going out, honestly, to pregame warm-ups and we weren't quite sure, maybe San Francisco, I think it was San Francisco, and we weren't quite sure what our running back situation would look like. We're in a much different spot. And for me, as the guy that's got to call the plays, it makes it a little bit easier knowing that you're pretty deep there, you're pretty deep at the tight end room, and then, of course, you've got the receiver situation, which is nice to have.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
John Boyle, do you have a question for Dwayne?
I do. Let's just start out with a big spike. Was that an impromptu thing? Did you and Will plan that?
How often you get to spike a ball in your career as a lineman?
Wasn't planned out at all, actually. It's rare that I run that far to go celebrate, so I was just kind of excited, and Will kind of sought me out, handed me the ball, and Jordan Simmons spiked the ball. I think it was against the Vikings, and it was subpar. So I was just trying to show how it was done.
Did they break that one down in film? Did you guys study your form?
Nah, it's gotten a lot of attention I didn't want, but it's all good.
Jen?
I think you're on mute.
Oh, there we go. When the ball doesn't come back down, what do you expect? I mean, you obliterated the ball. We've talked about how consistent you are. Is there anything that surprises you about the level that you're playing at this point in the season and in your career?
No, I put in a lot of work. I put in a lot of work, just in my body to be available, to be able to move and play it at the level I want to and I feel like I'm capable of. Put in a lot of work in film study and preparation just throughout the week. So no, I'm not surprised. I'm grateful. I'm grateful. That my body's been able to continue to produce for me. At this stage of my career, Grateful for the staff and for the organization for just the management throughout the week. So I'm able to be fresh and feel like myself every Sunday. So it's a blessing.
Corbin?
Hey, Dwayne, you guys have been down to your fourth string right tackle each of the last 2 games, but yet on Sunday, no sacks on Russell Wilson. What does that say about Chad Wheeler and Mike Solari's ability to develop players along the offensive line?
It's been great. It's been great. The depth across our offensive line has been amazing. My hat goes off to the young guys who've stepped up just throughout the season. You know what I mean? From Jordan Simmons to Kyle Fuller to Jamarco Jones, Chad Wheeler, Cedric, the list goes on. Guys are just ready to produce and ready to contribute at any point in time. And, it's never planned that way. You know what I mean? Like, can't remember what game it was, but we lost 2 guys to the right tackle position. Chad had to come in, and I don't think he planned on playing at all, but he stepped in and we didn't miss a beat. So it's a testament just to their hard work. Definitely Coach Solari does a great job of keeping everyone prepared, overly prepared, each and every week, and coaching everyone like they're going to have to play, so it's been great. We're going to need everyone going forward.
Bob?
Yeah, Dwayne, do you think much about how much longer you want to play? Have you ever put a sight on, like, I want to make sure I play this long or anything like that, or you just take it year by year at this point?
It's taking year by year. I don't want to put a number on it. You know what I mean? I don't want to tell my body, when it's time to shut it down. I've got a strong feeling about, you tell yourself, this many years and your body listens to you. I know shut it down around that time. So, like I said, I'm just enjoying it. I'm enjoying each and every Sunday, enjoying each and every year, and that's just all I'm concerned with right now.
Art?
Dwayne, at the beginning of the year, we learned that there was a change in emphasis regarding holding calls in the NFL, and there's going to be less called. I'm wondering, how did you find out about that, and how delighted were you to see the results?
I'd heard some rumblings about it. You never know how true that's gonna hold. It's been pretty good so far. I had a ticky-tack one last week. It got declined on the interception. But, it's, however the rules play out, I'm just continuing to do my job. I've been, fortunate to not have many of those calls in my career. So I just take it Sunday at a time and see how things play out.
Have you noticed the difference?
There has been a difference. I think so. I don't ever hold, so I don't worry about it.
Accuse you of anything like that. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Curtis?
Yeah, Dwayne, thinking back to the end of last season when all of a sudden you found yourselves without any running backs, how big of an issue was that to kind of deal with, not knowing Marshawn was coming in, Robert Turbin was coming in to be part of that whole situation, and the fact that you kind of have a full stable going to be healthy here in the coming week or two with Rashad coming back?
Yeah, that was, again, it's just one of those things you don't really prepare for it. You can come in the season with so many backs, but you're never prepared to lose, multiple backs within one game. And then, have to bring in guys that haven't been in the system throughout the year. And Marshawn and Turbin, they did a great job coming in at the end of the season. And now, we have everyone, and it's a blessing at this point of the season to have that many backs, especially considering, coming off of last week, how effective our run game was. We'd like to have more of that going forward. So to have everyone available, we're very fortunate, and we're looking forward to those guys contributing.
And last one for Dwayne, Greg.
Hi, Dwayne. How rejuvenating has it been that they've given you the midweek practices off? And then how much static have you gotten from the guys that you're not out there with them every single day grinding?
I don't get any static. I mean, I put in 13 years, and I remind these guys that I was in the NFL when we had real two-a-days. So they'll never know what that was like. So no, I don't get anything from them. They know, even though I'm not out there, I'm always working, doing something. But it's been great. It's been great, be able to take some miles off my body, going forward. And again, like I said, just being able to do what I have to do to make myself in as best shape possible come Sunday. Coaching staff, training staff done a great job with helping out with that. So it's been good. It's been really good.
Has this been the first coaching staff that's done that for you?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I didn't get that before. So it's been good.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Dwayne.
All right, thank you guys.
All right, that's it until Russell after practice. Thank you.